Hello everyone, I am CorporateNapps and welcome back to my channel. Want to speak with you guys today about 6 tips to maintain the health and beauty of your locks. That's 6 tips to maintain the health and beauty of your locks. Guys, I'm going to go a little bit deeper than just washing and moisturizing your hair, so stay tuned. Before we get into the details, be sure to thumbs up this video if you like this type of content, and of course, subscribe. Once you subscribe, ensure that you hit that little bell so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. For those of you who want to see a closer view of my locks, be sure to join me on my newly created Instagram page. Feel free to look at the banner above or in the description box below to find out how to follow me on Instagram. Now, let's go. So as mentioned, of course, washing and moisturizing are key components to maintaining the health and beauty of our hair. However, I do want to go a little bit further as it pertains to our microlocks. The first tip that I'm going to give you is know how to retighten your locks on your own. Look, I know that that is counter to everything you've heard from depending on the types of locks that you have. But the reason I say this is because you never want to be 100% dependent on anybody to do your hair. The reality is anything could happen. You could have an emergency. You know, you have your appointment scheduled, you're 4, 5, 6 weeks out, and all of a sudden an emergency happens in the family and you're going to be unable to attend or to go to that appointment. So locticians, as you all know, tend to be booked up fairly far out. I mean, they are booked up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. And so being able to squeeze you in at a later date or prior to may be a little difficult. In addition, your loctician, they are human. They could have an emergency. It could be an illness that takes them away from doing hair for quite some time. It could be a family emergency that takes them away from doing hair on the date or the week that your appointment is scheduled. Life happens, and very few locticians have someone that they can easily send you to if they are unable to keep your appointment. And keep in mind, most people as clients don't want to go to a new loctician when they know nothing about that person and don't have time to do the research. And let's be honest, that new loctician is most likely booked out for weeks at a time as well. So having the ability to retighten your own locks is to your advantage. You can obviously learn online. You can take a class to find out how to do it yourself. Do what needs to be done in order for you to be able to take some of that control or take back some of that control if you just happen to be in a situation where you're unable to get to your appointment or your loctician is unable to make the appointment. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is, okay, doing your locks or retightening your locks for the first time, your entire head may be a daunting task, and it is, quite frankly. However, being able to at least be able to do the perimeter of your hair, front, sides, and back, is going to be important. The reason I say the perimeter is because when you go an extended amount of time without getting your locks retightened, those are the areas that are more prone to breakage. So at minimum, being able to retighten that portion of your hair before you can get into an appointment is ideal. No one could have predicted the pandemic. I know people who went months without being able to get their hair done. I mean, it was a pandemic, right? It is a pandemic, I should say. Salons were closed, barbershops were closed, businesses in general were closed. Even if locticians were doing hair from a home salon, no one was taking the risk of letting people in their home, and hopefully clients weren't taking the risk of going into someone's home as well. So you have to think about things like that could just happen out of the blue, and yes, it may have been a one-time scenario where someone had to go months without getting their locks redone or retightened. However, just imagine if you knew how to retighten your locks and at minimum were able to do the perimeter of your locks. So definitely know how to retighten your locks on your own. The second tip is know how to style your hair on your own. A lot of times people who are 100% dependent on locticians to retighten their hair, many times they actually don't know how to style their hair other than wearing it straight or maybe putting some curls in. But a lot of people haven't even ventured into that. They will allow their loctician to do curls the day of their retightening, and that's the last time that they may have curls in their hair or do an updo until their next appointment. But here's the thing, even if you're the type of person who is not into styling your locks, who just likes to wear it straight, there's nothing wrong with that. But always think about those scenarios that could pop up. You get invited to a formal event, you have some type of event at work or after work that you would want to dress up a bit for or make changes to your hair. So know how to do pinup styles as well as how to curl your hair, and it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It's just nice to be able to have that in your back pocket when you need it. You're going to some family event and you want to do something other than put it back in a ponytail or wear it straight. And again, even buns, right, can be helpful in that situation. You can dress them up and dress them down. But I know some people who honestly, because of the length of their hair and locks, you can have fairly short hair and still be able to do buns with it. You just have to know how to pin it in a way that you're not tearing your scalp up, so to speak. But I know people who don't even know how to do buns. So try to get that in your back pocket and know how to style your own hair, even if it's one style that you have under your belt, one updo and one form of having it curled. Trust me, it will come in handy for you. The third tip is know how to repair a lock. Yep, that's going to be an important one. Here's what happens when you get into the lock repair situation. Normally, it needs to be repaired sooner rather than later. So if you notice it at a time period that is 4 or 5 weeks out from your retightening, you really may not have enough time to get to your loctician. A lot of times the repair may be needed towards the very end or even in the middle of the lock. If you learn how to repair a lock, you won't have to wait until your next appointment or try to see if your loctician can get you in earlier in order to repair that lock. It's actually fairly simple. People have different techniques. There are a number of videos that show you how to lock repair. Even if it's a bit, I'm gonna say clunky in how you do it, the locks kind of replenish themselves. If you can do it well enough to salvage the lock, then you're fine. Obviously, again, follow the steps that you find or see in videos or online, and that'll at least get you what you need to ensure that you don't lose the lock. And again, in between the time that you're actually able to get to your loctician. Protect your locks from lint. Yep, we are getting into winter season, and hey, the scarves are gonna come out. The sweaters with the fur on them and the wool, the coats with the hoodies that have the fur and everything on them, or the wool, they're coming out. And so that is a time that your hair is very prone to getting extra lint. Now, I will tell you, I love winter styling. I didn't say I like the winter because I do not like the cold, but I love winter styling. So I just throw caution into the wind when it comes to wearing everything that I can wear during winter season. I love my scarves, I love my throws, I love my coats and all of those things. However, I do attempt to find things that don't have material that's easy to come off, that easily sheds or it's easily to be left on your clothing, because if it's left on your clothing, it'll be left in your hair. Many times I will tell you, if I am wearing a scarf that is constantly rubbing against the back of my locks, or a coat or sweater that has material that's constantly rubbing against my locks, I try to actually wear an updo, so that basically if any of it is being touched, it's that very back portion, right? And I actually take a lint roller after I am done for the day, after I've come home and I've taken everything off. I try to take a lint roller and just kind of roll through the back of my hair, and I'll try to do some picking as well to make sure any big pieces of lint are taken out. Now, that is not going to prevent all of the lint from being in your hair, but that will help. And number 5, protecting your locks when you're wearing hats. Again, getting into winter season, we're gonna start pulling out the beanies and the wool caps, and many of those do not have satin lining. As you know, if you've been natural pre-locks or even with relaxers to a certain degree, the protection of our hair against the wool and the harsher textures is really important. You don't want the locks to be snagged. I think it's even more important around your edges. I have seen people put line their hats with satin scarves, but you know, sometimes you have a hat or something that you wear on your head that may be a bit more expensive, so you don't want to do a homemade version of covering it in something satin, covering the inside in something satin. You can of course take it to get it professionally done, or you can actually wear something under your head or under the hat that will allow you to protect the hair a bit. I think, you know, the most important part about protecting it from hats is ensuring that if you're gonna wear hats, I would not wear them daily, and I wouldn't wear them all day daily, right? Because what happens then is the hair is constantly getting friction. It's constantly going against the grain of whatever you have on your head. And so it's just gonna be important that you don't do the hats daily and have that rough contact with your locks nonstop. So protect the locks against hats. The 6th and final tip that I have is stop slicking your hair or your edges every day with gel. Yep, I said it. Look guys, we have natural hair. If you have 4A, B, C hair, sometimes the 3A, B, C, your hair may not lie down perfectly, and it's okay. You don't have to use gel to ensure that your edges are laid, so to speak. I get it sometimes, no big deal. You may want a very polished look. There's nothing wrong with that at all. However, to do it daily or, you know, every other day, we don't have relaxed hair. It's okay that our edges are not perfectly intact. I will tell you that an alternative to gels is to use something like coconut oil or jojoba oil, any of your thicker oils. Wet your hair a little bit. This is what I do, and I have, as I've mentioned to you guys before, parts of my hair that are 4A, 4B, and 4C. But what I do is I will take, say, coconut oil. I will wet my hair just a little bit, just take my fingers, wet it underneath the faucet, and kind of push it over my edges. And I'll take the coconut oil, put it in my hand a bit, put it on my edges, and take a toothbrush and just kind of work through it just a little bit, just to make sure that the edges are actually moisturized. And that's it. After that, I will then take a scarf, the same way that you would if you were gelling your hair. I will take a satin scarf and tie my hair down or tie my edges down until I get out of the shower or until I'm finished with my makeup, whatever the case may be. So let's stop putting the harsh gels with the alcohol and everything else on our edges to get them to lie non-stop, okay? So use alternatives if you want a more polished or sleeker look, or of course you can just leave them as is. I will tell you, for most times my hair is worn down. You can't even see my edges half the time. So I just have no reason to slick them. And if there are days where I want to do that, literally I do the coconut oil or whatever sort of heavier oil I have near me, slick that back with a toothbrush, an old toothbrush, and tie a scarf on, and I walk out of the door and I'm good. Now, is it going to lay and hold as long as it will with gel? Most likely not, depending on your texture. However, it'll give you what you need for the moment. I've had my hair last for hours just like that, where it's looking like I just walked out of the door with doing the toothbrush and the oil. So think about that as an alternative. There you have it, the 6 tips to maintain the health and beauty of your locks. I hope you guys find this video of value. I hope that these tips are helpful for you, and I hope that everyone is, of course, being safe, and take care, guys.